Hey, sorry I ghosted you guys for like a year. But to be fair, we are doing a Nico Di Angelo wig tutorial, so on brand. So a few things before we get started. I'm using a not so new mic, but I've learned things from it. A lot of this is, by the way, is going to be me saying, hey, I learned things while I was gone. So I'm going to be trying my best not to talk too loudly, because otherwise you're going to hear a lot like this, and we don't want that. For those of you who are wondering, which is probably not a lot of you, you're probably wondering where the hell I've been. School, work, the app that goes TikTok. So I've been gone and I've been busy, and I didn't intend a 1 month break to be like 9, 10, probably a year by now this is posted, so whoops, sorry. Ha.
You might notice the mic's gone. It's just because I can't freaking stand talking like this the entire video. So we're just gonna move on. Got it? Good. Nico Di Angelo's wig. If you know me, and you've been watching me for a while, you might know that I've been cosplaying Nico Di Angelo continuously for years and years. Technically, I've been cosplaying him since 2017. He's one of my problem cosplays. We love him. But his wig needs an update so badly. This kind of started back in 2022 when I did my Nico Di Angelo Goes to Universal video elsewhere. And here's the thing. I had to try very hard to cut out this. What this is a tuft of hair that I can never seem to tame, no matter what I tried, no matter what I did. I thoroughly disliked this, and then it just kind of rolled into, oh, there's these other things that I'm not like super fond of, to the point where I made a list. Yes, we are reading the list, because if I don't read this list, I'm going to go on a rant. Alright, so here's the short list as to why I don't like Nico's current wig. I will try not to elaborate as much as I can, because you guys don't want to hear me rant. I don't want to rant. We need to get into the tutorial. So, I'm not a big fan of how it frames my face. I just don't like how I don't like how it frames my face. It's too black. Okay, so here's the thing. Nico's wig is just straight up jet black. In my head, it's not. I don't know how else to put that. He has very, very dark hair, and he's described as such, but he doesn't have like straight up jet black hair. He probably does definitely have like black hair or very dark brown hair, but not jet black hair. I don't know how else to put that. He has my hair. That's the best I got, and I got very, 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 very dark brown hair. So like, I want to fix that, and I learned how to while I was gone, by the way. So what's gonna be in the video? As you can see here, I have a handy dandy sticky note that basically has all the timestamps for this video on it. So it's including but not limited to, because editing on is a whole different beast. Hi. Base wig, tools, dyeing, flattening, and styling. So essentially, I'm gonna show you the base wig. We are gonna learn what the tools I use are, and then we are dyeing the wig. You're gonna find out why. That is for future me to explain. And then we're gonna flatten the wig. I know that sounds counterintuitive, considering I said this is also a curling video, but curling is gonna be in the styling section. And then we'll be back here. I'll say hi to you guys, but for now, let's shadow travel out of here and into the video.
So the base wig is the dark brown Magnum Classic wig from Arta Wigs. I have bought this wig in varying colors for the specific reason of it's really good to curl with. It's a little bit longer without being too long, so I don't really have to do any major haircuts, as well as it's very layered, as I'm about to show you. And I know it's not black. We're gonna get there. I'm about to explain it. So how do we get from dark brown to black with brown highlights? We have to do some mad science. And kudos to you if you can read these notes, but this is what we're doing. So essentially, we're going to use this sample that I experimented on to get that nice lighting. You can see the difference between the colors, and in different lighting how we get that highlight going. So we're going to use some black dye more, as well as a 4th cup and a pair of tongs, because we don't want to burn our hands, which is why we're going to also use some gloves. And then we're going to use a thermometer and a pot. The thermometer so we can measure it all the way up to 200 degrees, and the pot because, well, we need the pot. So, quick PSA, do not use the pot after you have put fabric dye in it. And what I mean by that is do not put food in it, please. Pretty please, do not put food in that. As you can clearly see, it's kind of nasty. That is all the past fabric dye I've put in there. And I have cleaned this on multiple different occasions. So, what we are not going to do is put any kind of food in here after. This is not a pot for cooking unless you're a cooking dye. That's it. That's my PSA. Also, the sponge is only a dye sponge. I do not use this on my dishes at all. So first thing we're going to do is fill up the pot about 7/8 of the way. We're trying to get enough water in so that way the wig can be submerged and dye evenly while also not having too much spillage, because cleaning up dye off a stovetop is not fun. So we're going to let that water boil on high heat for however long it takes to get to 200 degrees Fahrenheit. No more, no less. Any more, we're going to burn the hell out of the wig. Less, well, the dye will not activate. So once we're closer to that 200 degree mark, we're going to go ahead and prep our Color Stay Dye Fixative Bath. What this does is prevents bleeding and any kind of fading that happens on the wig over time. We're going to use this giant tub and just fill it up with like hot water. It doesn't need to be boiling water, but hot water will do, which is why we do this more towards that 200 degree mark, so that way we can instantly put the wig into the dye bath. So once we reach the correct temperature, we're going to go ahead and dump a teaspoon of Dawn dish soap into the pot and use the same teaspoon to stir the soap into the boiling water. After the soap is thoroughly mixed in, we're going to go ahead and dunk 1/4 of the black dye more. And then we're going to stir that with the tongs. And now we're finally ready to dunk this wig into the pot. So I set my timer for 2 minutes and 5 seconds. And I wait for the 5-second countdown and then dunk the wig using the tongs into the little vat we've made. I keep the wig moving so that way everything dyes as evenly as possible. And I continuously check on the color to make sure it doesn't get too dark but not too light either. I also want to quickly note that the wig will look darker while wet before we go ahead and dry it. Just something to note. Once our 2 minutes are up, we're going to go ahead and quickly move it into the Color Stay bath and stir that around continuously for 20 minutes. I always recommend having something on in the background while you're doing this, otherwise it's really boring. And here's our rat's nest. Don't worry, it's gonna get fixed later. But for now, we are gonna rinse it out with some fabric softener. I recommend one with no fragrance because I picked one that has all the fragrance and it still smells. You're gonna hear me talk about that a lot at the end of the video because it's that strong and it annoys the crap out of me. After everything is rinsed out, you're gonna wanna go ahead and just brush the whole thing. Or comb it. I'm using my unbrush, but I did also use a comb as well. After you're done combing everything, you're going to want to blow dry this, or more accurately, I wanted to blow dry this. I was impatient. You're supposed to let this air dry, and you're going to see the results of why you want to let it air dry, because it gets very fluffy, and that is not what we want. To fix the floof, I use a flat iron, which works like a charm. We're just trying to make a base to work off of, nothing more. So here are all the tools I ended up using. Got to Be Glue hairspray keeps everything in place, as well as the unbrush. We're going to brush out those curls and also make sure everything doesn't get tangled up. Curling rods are the most important. I ended up using this the most to get the curls I wanted out of everything. Pins, including sewing pins and bobby pins, as well as alligator clips, kept everything separated or in place. The rat tail comb was used to section out and brush it out. And the steamer is used to make sure that the style takes hold in the first place. So a step I never skip is experimentation. I always play with the different type of curling methods that I have at my disposal. So in this case, it's perming rods, it's curling rods, it's, you name it, I probably have it. And then going over that with the steamer, brushing that out, and then going back and doing that again.
What I ended up going with was the bendy curly rods. You know, the blue ones. That's not helpful. There's a lot of blue ones. The ones that are long and that I mentioned in the intro to the tool set. So I kind of just go in rows and work very, very slowly. This took 2 days to just curl the entire wig. If you have a lot, this will go a lot faster. I don't, even though it looks like I do. I also work back to front. I don't touch the bangs until I am done curling the back because I want the bangs to blend in to the back and the sides. So essentially, I will get to the point right here where I am figuring out how I want the bangs to be curled because they might be curled differently than the back and sides are because it's framing my face. And once you look like a poodle and kind of ridiculous, you have done your job right. You're gonna brush that out and just kind of play with your fingers. This is like a mad science-y bit. It really just depends on your face shape. You're just gonna make it look really nice on you. There's no other descriptors I can use for you. I am so sorry. This is just very much like eye of the beholder kind of stuff. Hey, chop chop, time for a haircut. I'm using thinning shears to cut Nico's wig. And the reason for that is thinning shears tend to give a lot more of that natural length and look to it. It's kind of hard to describe, but like curly hair is very forgiving, but it isn't forgiving to blunt cuts. I tend to use thinning shears on a lot of my wigs personally because I like that more natural look, and it cuts it so unevenly, which works out. It still cuts the length off, but it doesn't completely just chop it into a blunt line. I continue just kind of going back and forth with my brushes, combs, and whatever. I am just working with my own face. I also go in with a flat iron, and the reason for that is I'm trying to tame some of the curls on the front of my face. They do not need to be as curly as my back curls, as I previously have said before. Now, I'm a very visual person, and I was having issues trying to see Nico Di Angelo while styling this wig. I could see him, he was there, but it wasn't encompassing Nico Di Angelo. So I put on the Camp Hoplet shirt I used for him, and just continued to do some minor adjustments, play with my fingers, cut it and everything. And then when I felt like I had everything all together, I went ahead and put on his jacket, and here's my reaction to it, while also listening to Italian history, funny enough.
Hi, Nico! I don't think I've ever said hi to you before.
Comprehensive and unifying story, but certainly not a definitive.
Hello, I'm gonna hairspray this.
History of Roman statehood ends right at the dawn of the Italian Renaissance.
And that's exactly what I did. I did light spritz all over the wig. I tend to just do that for the specific reason, so I don't have like the wig be too crunchy and hard. We're going for a lot more of a natural, fluffy hair versus like a very hard anime style. So now we have a Ghost King wig, and I am very happy with it. I hope you guys are very happy with it. And I have nothing really more to say beyond I hope this helped anyone who is trying to at least curl a wig, or even like a inspo for Nico Di Angelo, because like... Okay, enough bragging. I'm gonna say bye-bye, and hopefully I'll see you soon. Bye-bye!
Gilgamesh being a huge turbo tyrant, and eventually they decide the only logical solution is to create Gilgamesh's equal, someone who can stand up to him and make him chill out. The goddess Oruru, creator of humanity, shapes some clay into a massive and powerful wild man called Enkidu, an absolute and literal beast who spends his days in the wilderness with the animals, causing problems for the local hunters, which means the number of unstoppably powerful demigods causing problems for innocent locals has changed from 1 to 2. Good work, team. The hunters try and figure out what to do about this huge down by the wind so Gilgamesh can slay him. Enkidu briefly worries that killing a monster created by the gods might upset the gods a little bit. I'm sure that won't come back later. Or immediately. When the boys make it back to Uruk with a ton of high-quality cedar wood in tow, Gilgamesh gets himself cleaned up after his long and arduous journey and is immediately ambushed by the goddess Ishtar, who thinks he's really hot and wants to marry him. Gilgamesh enumerates a large number of reasons he's not going to do that in the form of a list of all of Ishtar's exes that have suffered various horrible fates, and Ishtar gets